Alright, Raph, getting us into this thing.
Here's Raph hanging us in.
I think it's like far away. Yeah.
And as you can see, the line is quite long.
That is so Emily. That's so
I'm the Latino gamer celebrating our second year anniversary of the website here at Capcom's preview event for the most anticipated game in the past decade, Marvel vs. Capcom 3!
Did you get it?
Yeah, I like that. I like Wolverine though, he's fun. But it's really easy to use. It's almost too easy to do the combos. I'm gonna go with normal instead of V because I did simple and that's why.
We've got Melody, our very own Capcom representative here, to answer our questions.
Hello.
Let's start off easy. Who's your favorite character?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I love Sea Viper. They just announced Sea Viper, so
She's going to be at it?
yeah, we just announced her last week, so that's pretty exciting news. So you gotta love the ladies, you know. We got Storm from the Marvel side that we also just announced, so very excited. But being from Capcom, you know, I gotta stick to my own, right?
Jason from Capcom is going to answer some more questions for us. So first, who's your favorite character from the game?
My favorite character, I have a favorite team already. I have Dante, Deadpool, and Super Skrull.
Okay. So we saw some special food prepared for the game. Which one did you like most?
Man, it's hard to say, man. Like, you know, I want to rep Capcom. You know, Chef Reisman had the fireball and all that. But I'm loving that incredible Hulk burger, man. So I don't know, I haven't made up my mind yet.
Something I'm sure most gamers are wondering at this point. What exactly is the difference between Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 3?
Okay, so beyond like the expanded characters, you know, the expanded movesets, you know, and the new look, we've simplified the controls in some ways. So the standard controls, normal controls, you know, people might remember the order to tag in, you used to have to like hold back and hit a button. Now all you need to do to bring in an assist character is tap one of the buttons or hold it down. It brings the character right in. Little details like that make the game a lot more accessible and easier to get in, and less headaches when trying to figure out how to do the controls. We got it to simple mode. Simple mode allows, you know, beginners, novices to be able to execute some of the more elaborate, complicated moves without having to do like the same complicated maneuvers, which makes it a lot easier for people to strategize in their combat without trying to figure out how to execute the move. So details like that, and you know, characters like Dante, who's never been in a fighting game before, is in Marvel vs. Capcom. You know, and then bringing in newer Marvel characters like X-23. I mean, just the opportunity to be able to play with Deadpool, the opportunity to be able to play with these exciting characters in both universes that nobody's been able to play with before. It's a really, really exciting package.
So is the simple mode totally new, or is it essentially a re-implementation of the easy mode from Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter?
Well, it's a new mode that essentially allows you to map light, medium, heavy to one button, a special to one button, so you don't have to do anything, and then a third button to your super attacks. So that's all your top buttons right there. That's what simple mode means for Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and we've had a great response to it already, and the fans really like it. But the only drawback is that with some of your characters you lose a few more moves. So somebody like Dante, who has like over 40-something moves in the game, literally, he has a fraction of that if you play with him in solo mode. So that's how it works in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Just from the first couple of rounds I was able to play, trying out the old standby Ryu, it felt like the hyper combos were a lot easier to pull off, but when I tried to do my regular Street Fighter 2 style combos, it just wasn't very responsive, and it seemed like when I tried to do the punch kick combination, Ryu would just jump away and go into a hyper combo instead of when I didn't want to use the combo gauge. So how are old school Street Fighter fans gonna really feel about this new mode?
Well, for the most part, people understand when they come to Marvel vs. Capcom that it's not Street Fighter. Marvel vs. Capcom is very much its own animal and its own game, whereas Street Fighter is a lot more technical. There's a lot more complex maneuvers that you do in Street Fighter, and people come to do different brands for two separate experiences, and that's what Marvel vs. Capcom has always been about. Because the Marvel fans, the comic book fans who may not play a lot of fighting games, want to play Marvel vs. Capcom because they want to use their favorite comic book characters in a fighting setting. So it's important to make those moves a lot more accessible for people, easier to pull off. The build that we have here today is a TGS build, and although it was a lot older back then, and we were still doing a lot of tweaking and balancing, we've done even more since then in the builds that we have now. So although we weren't able to share that today at this event, we have more big builds that are even more balanced and more responsive to moves.
So in a way, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 sort of complements Super Street Fighter 4, which appeals more to the old school Street Fighter fan, or instead you have this guy appealing more to the newcomer.
Marvel vs. Capcom has its own community of fighters, its own built-in fan base that play Marvel vs. Capcom for a Marvel vs. Capcom experience. So there is some crossover. Sometimes you do get hardcore Street Fighter fans that want to experiment with Marvel and whatnot. But throughout history, they've very much been two separate camps.
So as far as the controls, is it kind of continuing from what you started with Tatsunoko vs. Capcom?
So there are some elements that people might be familiar with, which is like the license card, which is a feature that was in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom that was brought over to Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So there are some ways in which this is borrowed, but Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is control-wise. People might there's been some debate online about whether or not it's Tatsunoko vs. Capcom's controls and whatnot, but it is very much based on the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 scheme with the light, medium, heavy 3 up here. Your launch button is your bottom button down here, and then all we did was tweak it so that instead of having to hold back to attack in a new character, you just hold down a button stuff. So it's Marvel vs. Capcom 2 controls just evolved to a certain extent.
After the game is released in February, can we expect to see Capcom releasing DLC characters for a good while after that?
So at this point, we've only announced Jill, Valentine, and Shuma Garak. They will be available for purchase a month after the launch of the game. So people have been really excited about that. You know, if you buy the special edition version of the game, they come with both of them in the game, so all you have to do is download it later on when they're available to everybody. So yeah, we think DLC in that sense has been really exciting tool for us. Something else that fans can buy to further extend their experience, and we'll be very successful with that. We can talk about license card, which is heavily it's a profile that people saw on Tatsunoko versus Capcom. It's basically a profile that will show what are the tendencies and habits of an opponent. So you'll get to see who their favorite team is to play with. You get to see what kind of special moves and attacks they typically like to use, what they like to open up with when they fight, and the frequency of certain moves. So having that profile sheet will allow you to do a little reconnaissance before you take on an opponent. So it's another exciting tool that people have been really happy about. We thought it was successful in Tatsunoko. We think it'll be successful here. Well, it's another way that people can gauge what they're going up against. I mean, you basically have an entire report on how they like to play, and having that tool, it's like you usually have that with your friends, right? Like you know how they like to play their games, but now you have a whole world now. There's internet that connects everybody, and there's all these strangers out there, and yeah, people effectively get their butts kicked sometimes. So having that profile is a better tool so that people can better prepare for the battle they're going to have.
Is there anything else you can tell us about the game at this point?
The game's coming out February 15, 2011. We're really excited. Make sure you check it out. It's available on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.